Okay, I'm going to let this live stream just build up for a few short seconds because I think it's very important that we start having this conversation because it looks like things are starting to get a little intense between a lot of progressive commentators, and um, we need to really address something that's really fundamentally important. First and foremost, let's just get the intros out of the way. My name is Kit Cabello. I'm the host of Hard Lens Media. We are live every Monday through Friday at 5 p.m. Central Standard Time. We're also live on our Rockfin channel as well, Mondays and Wednesdays at 4 p.m. Central Standard Time. And, we have a Twitter account, and check out our Discord page. With that being said, with everyone that's joining us, we thank you guys so much for your support. And I think now more than ever, we need to have a really clear and concise conversation about what's going on. So first and foremost, everyone could see with the title, Jimmy Dore versus Cenk. Some time ago, we actually did a short a clip on how Jimmy and Cenk agreed on sort of like some kind of a plan for Medicare for all or forcing the vote. And recently we did pull up an image where on TYT voters, fans, voted in favor of Jimmy Dore's method of forcing the vote. Now, of course, since then, there's been an ongoing intense back and forth between different commentators and platforms. And I think everyone's losing the bigger picture. And this is something even Jimmy Dore would agree with and scream from the rooftop. And that is, force to vote isn't about Jimmy Dore or anything that he's doing. Jimmy Dore is just pointing out just how inept our system is and why we need to hold our leaders' feet to the fire. Now, why is this important? Because throughout the entire primary of 2020, as well as going into the general election of 2020, we constantly kept on hearing from, I guess, blue checkmark people, those who have larger platforms saying, well, we got to hold Biden's feet to the fire. What does that look like when most of Biden's administration is basically nothing but corporatists? So then what's our next best option? The United States Senate and House. We got to get those progressives that are in the Senate and House active and ready. And first and foremost, we got to go to the House. That means going after those congressional progressive men and women that are in our House right now and tell them to force the vote, withhold their vote for Nancy until she brings up Medicare for all on the floor so that people can vote on it. Now, why is this important? Why is this fundamental for our democracy? Why is this fundamental for the fight for Medicare for all? Because we got to start the fight somehow. We have to have this conversation somehow. And if we don't essentially have a plan, a true plan to really bring relief to working class citizens, a lot of good people are going to get hurt. So what essentially is going on? So let me just pull up something that just happened. As it stands, 1 hour ago, Cenk Uygur recently tweeted out, Jimmy, I tried 1,000 times to hold back. I was trying to help you, but you're hopeless. Why the blank would you burn down your own house? This dumb attack on Anna Kasparian makes every sane progressive defend her. Your ego and reckless temper ruined you. #child. He goes on to saying, challenging progressives to defy Democratic leadership and force a floor vote on Medicare for all is so obvious. I've been pushing it for 2 years. The question is, what vote you push on? The one where you hand the speaker position to the GOP without any plan is not the one. Now, again, here's something that I would ask Cenk. Well, let's look at Nancy Pelosi. What is she going to do? She has said that she's not for Medicare for all. And, I think it's time more and more people see how heartless Nancy Pelosi is. When we on Heartlands Media had to defend Wolf Blitzer when he had that back and forth with Nancy, when she said, well, we feed the people. No, that's not happening at all. The House Democrats don't give a damn. And let's not forget where Nancy Pelosi was smugly eating ice cream out of her $25,000 refrigerator. Nancy Pelosi has been in politics for basically 40 plus years. If she actually had a heart, if she actually gave a damn or had imagination to do something, she would have done it by now. So how else are we going to hold their feet to the fire until we actually shake up the establishment? Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer have both made their actions very clear. They're not for working class citizens. And at the height of a pandemic, where 30 to 40 million Americans are at risk of being evicted from their homes, millions of Americans don't have health insurance, millions of Americans are right now unemployed, we need to do something. Cenk Uygur also goes on to state, if you want to challenge Pelosi, you have to do your homework and figure out ahead of time who would run against her in the caucus, not wait till the choice is between her and a GOP leader. That's what some of us did a month ago. Some of us chose not to be hot-tempered and childish instead. But again, how do we hold our feet to the fire unless we start doing it? Jimmy Dore is a pothead comedian. He has admitted it through and through. But at least he's getting people to talk about it. And one thing that a lot of commentators have forgotten, and something you don't even see on corporate media, is, again, polling data showing even Republican voters, conservative voters, libertarian voters agreeing that, yeah, Medicare for all is a good idea. See, no one ever bothered to talk to those voters about why they agree with liberals, socialists, progressives, that Medicare for all is a good thing. It seems to be a very popular idea. We've seen it firsthand that we live in a two-party system that's owned by corporations, Wall Street executives, and big banks. We got to set a standard, or at least begin opening the door for holding these Democrats' feet to the fire. If this is the plan, we got to try. And again, Cenk Uygur also goes on to state, there's nothing wrong with hashtag force a vote. What's wrong is the timing. Let's do force a vote 10 more times at the right time. Right time is not an excuse to wait in this case. The right time was before this vote. I like being aggressive, but you have to do it strategically. Problem with Jimmy Dore isn't mediocre strategy of force a vote. I supported it in the beginning because I think pressure on progressives in Congress is helpful. They're too hesitant. Problem is that Jimmy then proceeded to burn every sane, honest progressive and made it about his ego. This isn't about his ego. Jimmy Dore is angry just like millions of other Americans. I don't care what their political demographics are, who they worship, the color of skin, how old they are, what generation they're from. Millions of Americans right now, at the height of a pandemic and a global economic depression that we are on the precipice of, that we are getting close to dealing with, need relief. And where else can we put pressure on to the leadership but in the House? And we have to hold their feet to the fire, as it's been said time and time again. And again, Cenk Uygur also goes on to state, I give a lot of crap and I take a lot of crap. I fought 1,000 battles against every wing of every party, but I don't get sensitive about it. Jimmy Dore has his feeling hurt so much, he lashes out wildly against all other progressives. His angle is the most pure. No, his angle is trying to get people to interact with their political leaders and also remind a lot of these progressives that got into office that they are public servants and they got to do something now. We have to set up some kind of groundwork for 2021 going into 2022, because if we don't, it will be a slaughter for the Democrats. Remember, on November 3rd, or at least before November 3rd, the House Democrats had 230 seats. 230 seats. They lost those 11 seats because those Democrats were being pragmatic. Cenk, you were in a primary. The Democrats, the DCCC, made it very clear that they're supporting incumbents or those that will be loyal to the party and not challenge the system. In the 25th district where you ran, a Republican won. 11 Democratic seats were lost, and now the Democrats have a majority, 219. 219, 230. Maybe we need to put more pressure on the Democrats. Maybe progressives, independents, and dare I say it, even conservatives and libertarians and Republicans should all work together in holding all these politicians accountable. Because since this pandemic's been going on, Congress has been going on vacation. Yeah, they might do some bills here and there, but then they go on vacation or have another break. The perks of being a politician. The only sad fact is, and this is to anyone who ever wants to run for Congress or wants to be a corporate sellout, if you're in the Republican Party or the Democratic Party, and if you want to be a corporate sellout, 90% of the time what you're doing in Congress is calling up your donors so you get more money to run more campaigns, so you can write more legislation for your corporate donors, so you can get right back onto the phone, calling those donors, begging them for more money. Now, we got 15 progressives in Congress. We got to push them to do this. But the thing is, it's in our hands to do this. Now, Jimmy Dore went on to respond to Cenk. And, Jimmy being who he is, he's not going to hold anything back. He goes on to state, sorry, but Cenk Uygur is misleading his audience again. If Pelosi doesn't get enough votes, it doesn't get handed to the GOP. That's not how it works at all. He's gaslighting everyone now and running interference for the Democratic Party. Don't fall for it. And Jimmy's not going to hold things back. Good for Jimmy. Also, again, he also retweeted us out. Big thanks to Cenk, Uygur, and Anna Kasparian for covering hashtag Force a Vote and letting their audience weigh in. And again, the overwhelming support of the idea of elected progressives was holding their vote for Pelosi until she agrees to a floor vote. And with the image, again, you can see it on Jimmy Dore's Twitter, 85.27% agree with Jimmy on TYT's network. If we don't start pushing back, if we don't start fighting back, nothing will fundamentally change. Remember, Joe Biden said that. And how else are we going to get Joe Biden to even agree with us? We got to get the Congress to act. We got to do something. Now, do I think this strategy will work? I have hope in Jimmy Dore's plan. But this isn't about Jimmy Dore. I think the reason why Jimmy's going back and forth with a lot of these progressive commentators isn't about ego. It's more of, we need to hold these people accountable. We have a pandemic. And again, various reports are happening here and there. There's some reports showing that there is some different variations of the coronavirus. And this vaccination that was thoroughly rushed, I mean, who knows if it can handle those new variations of that virus. And we'll be right back to where we started early on in 2020, where, again, we're at the height of a pandemic, people are losing their jobs, people are losing their health insurance. And then remember, there are stories about people who are recovering from coronavirus who are walking out of hospitals with $100K to $1 million in medical debt. No other country has this problem. In fact, I think a lot of Americans, no matter who you align with, can all see firsthand other countries are taking care of their people. Other countries are providing health care for their people. Other countries are giving their citizens stimulus or UBIs. We're not. We only had it one time. And since then, our Congress has been going on vacation. So when Jimmy says we have to fight, we got to do it. I mean, if not now, when is it? When will it be? I also real quick want to take a quick break real quick and acknowledge a super chat from Chris Bradford, $5. Good commentary. Thank you guys so much. We really do appreciate all of you joining us. But there's more than this. This isn't about division. This isn't about dividing people. It's more of we got to wake up and somehow fight. We got to do this. And maybe Jimmy Dore just shook things up too much. Maybe it made people uncomfortable. But when you start a fight with the establishment, it's going to get uncomfortable. And with this crisis that we're in, a lot of people are scared, angry, and frightened, and we're not getting any kind of relief from Washington, D.C. Now, the traditional method would be, well, it's Team Red that's holding us back. It's Team Blue that's holding us back. My party's trying to help us out, but the other party isn't. We all need to wake up. The Republican and Democratic establishment are friends with each other. Now, I mentioned in last night's live stream on how the Movement for People's Party is doing the hashtag Force to Vote. You can check out their Twitter. It's pinned right there, where they're doing the Force to Vote on Medicare for All now. And again, there are 15 progressive representatives. Sign your name to it. There's Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Ayanna Presley, Barbara Lee, Chuy Garcia, Cori Bush, Ilhan Omar, Jamal Bowman, Jamie Raskin, Katie Porter, Marie Newman, Mark Pochin, Priyama Jayapal, Rashid Tlaib, Raul Galjaba, and Ro Khanna. These are 15 progressives. We all know they're fighters. We just got to push them and get that initiative going. We got to have a conversation. We have to get it to start. But this kind of infighting isn't what's going to help. And I understand Jimmy Dore's rage. We got to get angry. I think we're all tired of seeing the same story time and time again, where we're seeing communities struggle, where we're seeing food lines in this country, but no action from Washington, D.C. It's not the commentators people need to be mad at. It's our politicians. It's the system. Now, our corporate media and our political establishment did an outstanding job in convincing a lot of Americans just to stand down, let the system run as it is, and assume that the people who are in power know what they're doing. This has been happening since Ronald Reagan all the way up to Trump and now going into Biden. All these Democratic and presidential administrations were running this neoliberal economic system, and it's nothing but smoke and mirrors, and this one little virus shattered it all. But who is really suffering? It's the people. And we need Medicare for all. It's not a joke anymore. I also real quick want to acknowledge this article from Common Dreams. Again, As congressional leaders near relief deal, Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez slams Democrats for trying to lock their left flank in the basement. Again, I respect these 15 progressive congressional men and women, but we got to put a fire under them so they could realize that they have a backing, that they have an army outside. It's the people. When the people lead, that's when the leaders follow, and we got to show them our support. And that means challenging people like Nancy, who's been in power for far too long. She doesn't care. Remember, she said it herself, that the reason why she helped withhold the stimulus checks was to hurt Trump. Well, that didn't hurt Trump. Trump is on his way out. He's not going to get prosecuted. Nothing's going to happen to him. He's going to be fine. But he wanted to give people stimulus checks, and Nancy Pelosi said no. And who did Nancy hurt? It was the people. Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez on Sunday voiced frustration with what she characterized as Democratic leaders' efforts to shut progressives out of key policy negotiations, a message that came as the details of roughly $900 billion coronavirus relief package began to slowly trickle out just ahead of an expected vote. One major difference between GOP and Dems is that Republicans leverage their right flank to gain policy concessions and generate enthusiasms, while Democrats lock their left flank in the basement because they think they will make Republicans be nicer to them. The New York Democrat tweeted, referencing Republicans' leaders' decision to rally around Senator Pat Toomey's last-minute push to curtail the Federal Reserve's emergency lending powers in the relief bill. Toomey's original provision, which Democrats slammed as an effort to sabotage in the incoming Biden administration, was narrowed significantly in negotiations late Saturday, but the Pennsylvania Republican said Sunday he is very pleased with the outcome. Under the compromise agreement, according to Wall Street Journal, $490 billion previously provided by the Treasury Department to backstop losses in the Fed lending programs would be revoked, and the Fed wouldn't be able to replicate identical emergency lending programs next year without congressional approval. But the agreement wouldn't prevent the Fed from starting other similar programs. As negotiations over other much-needed coronavirus relief accelerated rapidly over the past week, Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and other progressives publicly aired their outrage at exclusion of key priorities and overall inequality of the package, which will ultimately be much smaller than even the pared-back version of the HEROES Act that the House passed in October. The total size of the package was around $2.2 trillion. My goodness. AOC, you're voicing anger at the Democratic Party. Well, use that anger and withhold your vote. Use that anger and demand that Nancy Pelosi put Medicare for All on the floor for a vote. I think it's time we call out these politicians. And there's a good chance, a very good chance, that Nancy and her Democratic establishment friends and her Republican establishment friends will vote against Medicare for All. But then, and only then, will the people see how inept, how careless, how heartless our Congress is. See, what Cenk and a lot of the people need to realize is this is what a fight looks like, and you have to make it uncomfortable. Sometimes a fight isn't easy. It's an uphill mountain to climb. And Jimmy Dore, to his own admission, a pothead comedian from Chicago, shout out to Chicago, it is what it is. We got our own biases, Chicago, all the way. Jimmy Dore is just calling them out. He's calling out the hypocrisy of a system that doesn't care. He's calling out political leaders that have no heart. And so when other pundits start saying, well, this plan doesn't work, well, of course Jimmy's going to go after them, because what other option do we have? Because there is no knight on the hill. The real people that are going to have to enact this change are us, the people. All of you watching, whether you agree with it or not. I mean, the rest of the world, and I'm not saying those governments are perfect, but the rest of the world is taking care of their citizens. Their citizens don't have to worry about paying $100 a block when they get in an ambulance. Their citizens don't have to worry about becoming homeless because of ridiculous medical bills that the insurance companies won't pay. Their citizens don't have to worry about being evicted from their homes at the height of a pandemic. We have to be better, and that means we have to fight. And sadly, to all of our international audience that's watching, our healthcare system in this country is antiquated. The corporations, similar to like how they control the media, how they control our politicians, control our healthcare. Our Our healthcare is tied to our jobs. And Medicare for all isn't sounding like a joke anymore. So AOC and to all the other progressives that are in Congress, you're being locked out by the Democratic establishment. Why are you being loyal to them if they don't care about you? If they hate you now, if they lock you out now, they're never, ever, ever going to let you in. You got to get angry and you have to push back. And Jimmy Dore is correct in calling out a lot of people. Because how else do we get to this fight? How much longer do we have to wait? Do we even have time to wait? And let's say nothing gets done. Let's say there isn't a force of vote. Let's say AOC and progressives don't put Medicare for all on the floor for a vote. They don't withhold their vote. Can you imagine how 2022 is going to look? It's not going to inspire progressives or independents. We say, hey, hold their feet to the fire. Hold Biden's feet to the fire. If they're not going to do it, well, then what's this whole song and dance about? What's 2024 going to look like if Trump chooses to run again, or somebody worse than Trump's going to choose to run again? We're going to be right back where we started from all over again. And there are millions of Americans that cannot afford that. So at the end of the day, whether you like him or hate him, Jimmy Dore is correct in calling out the hypocritical system that we are living in. And I think we all need to take a step back and look at our political system. It's not working for us. It's working for the 1%. With that being said, I want to thank all of you for joining me for this short live stream. Heartlands Media is live every Monday through Friday at 5 p.m. Central Standard Time. We are also live on Rockfin every Monday and Wednesday at 4 p.m. Central Standard Time. Check out our Twitter page as well. Check us out on Discord. Please support independent media. We do have a Patreon. With that being said, thank you guys so much for joining me. We need to continue on with this conversation. Be sure to check out the Movement for People's Party. Go to their Twitter page. They have the pinned tweet where it says, force the vote on Medicare for all now. Please sign that petition. We got to start somewhere. And if we don't take this initiative now, so many good people will suffer. This is what a fight looks like, and it's not going to be easy. There's no promise of an easy win. But if you don't fight, you never will. I'm Kit. Peace to you guys, and let us all do what we can to build a better future.